hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
Had to highlight this part. Who are you calling tolerable?
He's starting to realize that actually this girl is hot stuff.
And then the other one's like, because I love you. Like, I did something bad, why does it feel so good? I feel like that is Lydia right here. And it's one of my favorite scenes. My best friend and I are absolutely obsessed with Jane Austen. Like, we spend so much time talking about our opinions on the different books and like which one of our love interests is our favorite. So I thought it would be really cool if I got a copy of Pride and Prejudice and annotated it with all of my thoughts and feelings and left little notes for her. And then I thought I could maybe one up the traditional just like annotate a book for a friend by putting in the little Spotify codes to different Taylor Swift songs that I thought went along with the book in different scenes and kind of like represented certain parts of the book. So that is what we're going to do today. Okay, so the book that I got is this copy with these really pretty purple flowers on it. And then to mark where I've put different song codes, I've just got these little post-it tabbies that are all these different pretty shades of purple. And then lastly, I ordered this really cute set of highlighters off of Amazon, and as you can see, they're all just like these really cute pastel colors. And so I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna highlight different quotes, I'm gonna leave notes in the margins, and I am of course going to fill it with all of these different song lyrics and Spotify codes. So here we go.
Okay, so I just made it to chapter 3, and this is going to be like my first song reference for the book. And obviously, like, as you can see, the first few chapters in this book are super short, so this is basically the very beginning of the book. I went ahead and wrote out the lyrics to Anti-Hero. It says, I always feel like everybody is a sexy baby and I'm a monster on the hill. That perfectly describes the way that Darcy feels when he first walks into that first assembly room in Meryton, because he's like walking in, everybody's looking at him, he doesn't know anybody. And of course at the time we're thinking, oh, what a snob, like he's looking down on everybody. But later on we find out that he's actually just like horribly socially awkward and like painfully shy. And so I thought that lyric of like feeling too big for the room really fit his personality, both like financially and socially, but also just like physically. He's described as being like a very big dude. And so I explained that down here, just saying that this is how Darcy feels as he's walking into the assembly, because he's super insecure and feels very out of place. And then over here I wrote some more lyrics from Anti-Hero. I said, I should not be left to my own devices. They come with prices and vices. I end up in crisis. And it says, it's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. And I highlighted the part in the book that really calls attention to that. He was looked at with great admiration for about half the evening, till his manner gave a disgust which turned the tide of his popularity, for he was discovered to be proud, to be above the company, above being pleased, and not all his large state in Derbyshire could then save him from having a most forbidding, disagreeable countenance, and being unworthy to be compared with his friend. And of course we know his best friend being Mr. Bingley, who's just the ultimate cinnamon roll boy. Now we're at chapter 6, and we're starting to see a bit of a shift in Mr. Darcy. He's starting to realize that actually this girl is hot stuff.
Okay, so we're now getting to one of my favorite parts in the whole book, which is the discussion that Lizzie and Mr. Darcy have just about like the nature of womanhood and like what makes a woman like exceptional or special. He just comes across as so snobby and sexist, and she just completely cuts him down. Bingley is talking about like how cool it is that women are like so accomplished and they like, you know, do needlepoint and paint furniture and all these like cutesy little activities, and Darcy's like, are you kidding? Like, that does not make a woman accomplished. And then Lizzie's like, oh, well, you must comprehend a great deal in your idea of an accomplished woman. And he's like, yes, as a matter of fact, I do comprehend a great deal in it. Like, completely seriously, like this man doesn't have a sarcastic bone in his body. And so they're like describing all of the things that like he thinks a woman ought to be able to do or ought to have. She must be, you know, like polite, have a certain tone, have a certain expression, da da da. And Lizzie's like, I love the way that they put this in the, like, the Keira Knightley movie adaptation. Such a woman would certainly be a very fearsome thing to behold. And I just love the way that, like, she's so sarcastic and so, like, flippant about the whole thing, and, like, completely is just telling him off about how ridiculous he's being. It's just a really interesting and really, really ahead of its time sort of philosophical conversation about, like, the nature of womanhood and what femininity really is. And so of course I had to put the song The Man from the Lover album, and at the bottom I put the lyrics, if I was a man then I'd be the man.
Now we're at one of the most pivotal parts of the book, where Elizabeth has just turned down Mr. Darcy's first proposal. You could not have made the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. Epic proportions type turn down. But then we get to the part where he writes the letter kind of explaining himself, and she realizes that she has been a fool. So for this one, I thought it would be perfect to do Evermore, because it's kind of about someone trying to figure out what went wrong in their relationship and not really understanding why everything got messed up, and kind of mourning the loss of, like, what could have been. And I feel like this is the very first part where Elizabeth kind of starts to, I don't know, this is really where Elizabeth's opinion of Mr. Darcy changes a lot. So I feel like Evermore is really good for this. And then I wrote out this lyric, to be certain we'll be tall again, because by the next time that they meet each other, they will have grown and, like, matured as people, and they'll have another shot at their relationship, but they don't know that yet. But so this is kind of like foreshadowing.
Okay, so now we're at the part of the book where Lydia is coming home as Wickham's wife, and this part, particularly in the Keira Knightley adaptation, is so frustrating to me and so hilarious too, but mainly frustrating because Lydia is just so clueless of, like, what a terrible mistake she's made. It makes you cringe from the secondhand embarrassment, because she's just acting like she's just pulled this amazing man and it turns out this is just, like, the biggest scandal to hit their neighborhood in a very long time. So for that, of course, I had to go reputation vibes, and I'm doing I did something bad, because especially just, like, that main lyric of, like, I did something bad, why does it feel so good? I feel like that is Lydia right here.
Okay, so now we've made it to the part of the story where Darcy and Bingley finally come back to Longbourn to visit the Bennets. And so this is the first time they're seeing each other, like Darcy and Elizabeth, since everything went down with Lydia and Wickham. And I love this part so much because she has no idea what is going through this man's head at this point. And it is just so cute because it's the first time the tables are kind of turned and Lizzie's the one who's kind of pining after Darcy instead of the other way around. And she's blushing. Ah, it's so cute. So for this scene, I'm doing Death by a Thousand Cuts from the Lover album. She's like describing this breakup that she didn't actually want to happen. Like, she didn't want to break up with this guy. I looked through the windows of this love, even though we boarded them up, chandeliers still flickering here. So it's like she knows that she probably doesn't have a shot with him anymore, but at the same time, she still like can't help the fact that that's how she feels and that she loves him. And it's just, it's so cute. And see, she's freaking out. She's like, how could I expect anything else? Like, of course he doesn't love me after everything that's happened, but then why did he come? If the story's over, why am I still writing pages? She's like, if we have no chance together, why am I still looking at you, like trying to figure out how you feel? It's just so perfect.
Okay, so now we have another one of those just like crazy emotional tension sort of filled scenes, and it's one of my favorite scenes, and that is the scene when Lady Catherine comes to confront Lizzie about the rumors about her being engaged to Darcy. And this scene is just it like scratches some sort of weird itch in my brain. This scene is just so epic. It's like, I feel like this is kind of the classic literature version of those scenes in like fantasy novels where you have like the enemies to lovers arguing with each other, and then one of them like will say something like, why do you care, what does it matter to you, and then the other one's like, because I love you, and it's just like that screaming angry love confession. I feel like this is kind of that for Jane Austen, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like this woman has come here to confront her and to tell her off, and Lizzie maybe didn't even realize exactly how she felt right until this woman comes and threatens her, and she's like, whoa, 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 excuse me, I will do what I want. And so for this scene, it's like crazy how perfect this song is for this scene, and this is my favorite song off of Midnight's. It is Lavender Haze, because I feel like that song is just all about breaking conventions and not like just saying like, I do not give a crap about anybody else's expectations. I'm gonna live my life. I'm going to protect my relationship. I'm going to conduct myself in whatever way like works for me and works for me and my partner. You know what I'm saying? Like I love that so much. So for the part where Lady Catherine is like accusing her of all this stuff, I wrote up at the top, I wrote the lyrics. I said, all they keep asking me is if I'm gonna be your bride. And then down at the bottom, when Lizzie's like telling her off basically, I said, the only kind of girl they see is a one night or a wife, which does that not work so perfectly for this scene? And so then it kind of like goes on to the next couple pages. I highlighted so much in this scene because I just love it. And then at the end of the chapter, I actually wrote out one of my favorite quotes that Lizzie says that I feel like, again, is like the Pride and Prejudice parallel to Lavender Haze. And so this is from the part where Catherine's like, once and for all, tell me, like, are you engaged to him? And she's like, no. And she's like, will you promise me not to enter into an engagement? And she's like, no, I will not make that promise. And she basically says like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. And then she says, I am only resolved to act in that manner, which will, in my own opinion, constitute my happiness without reference to you. And it is just like a big, like, spit in the face to this horribly arrogant woman. I love it. And finally, we have the very last chapter. We made it, guys. Of course, I had to end it on a super sappy note. We're gonna do Lover, and honestly, this whole book ended up being very Lover album-ish. Jane Austen is the queen of happy endings because she talks about the life that they're building together, and I love that so much because she's like, Pemberley was now Georgiana's home, she and Elizabeth loved each other like sisters, Lady Catherine continued to be basically a jerk, and then at the very end it says, with the Gardners, they were always on the most intimate terms. Darcy as well as Elizabeth really loved them, and they were both ever sensible of the warmest gratitude towards the persons who, by bringing her into Derbyshire, had been the means of uniting them. The end. I just love that ending so much. It's so cute. So I love this quote from Lover because it says, we can let our friends crash in the living room. This is our place. We make the rules. And I feel like that is just like, that totally sums up this like ending passage.